Let's face it, you're here because your dog likes to treat your yard as if it's a suggestion. And you're tired of reading robotic, seemingly AI-generated reviews of the SpotOn fence that don't actually help you make a decision. So I'm not here to tell you whether or not I think the SpotOn collar is good or not. I'm here to help you work through whether or not it's the right fit for you. Because dropping $1,000 on a dog collar is only a good investment if it works. What I'm going to be doing is asking a few questions, and by the end, hopefully you will have figured out for yourself whether or not the SpotOn collar is right for you. And if it is right for you, just want to let you know there are discount links in the description below to save you a little bit of money on the SpotOn fence. So let's figure out together whether the SpotOn is your choice or if you need to keep looking. Question 1. What does your property actually look like? And I don't mean simply, well, I have a yard. Let's dig a little deeper. What does your yard look like? What's the shape of your yard? What's the terrain? Do you have hills, trees, maybe some forests or creek or river? Something that would make a traditional fence rather impractical. Here's why this matters. The SpotOn collar really shines when it comes to larger properties with some difficult terrain where a traditional fence might just be completely impractical. If you've got a smaller, flat yard, there are other wireless fencing options that will do just as good a job and save you a fair bit of money. We talk about them in several other videos on this channel that you can check out. But if you are like me and you've got some acreage or, uneven terrain, or you're somewhere with a homeowners association who has some pretty specific ideas about what you can do with fences, now we're really talking about where a GPS collar can come in. Now, are you the kind of person who likes to have intense conversations with those next door about where exactly the property line is? Because if you're doing a traditional fence, these are the kinds of conversations that need to be had. The SpotOn fence, your neighbor's not even going to know it's there. Except, of course, when they walk into their backyard to find that your dog hasn't roamed into their yard to take a big poop. Now, let's talk about your dog. And I'm not looking for, oh, they're a good dog, they follow directions, which is, of course, the thing that everybody says about their dog. Meanwhile, they're in the background chewing on a shoe. I'm talking about whether your dog is the right size for this collar, whether it is a good fit, because that is often something that people overlook entirely. The SpotOn collar just isn't built for small dogs. Technically, the minimum is 10 pounds, but even on a 15-pound dog, it kind of looks like they're wearing a Wi-Fi router around their neck. It's sturdy, and for good reason. It's got a lot of tech packed into it, but that also means it's fairly bulky. Poppy is about 50 pounds, and the SpotOn fits on her pretty much exactly how you would expect it to. It's snug, but not tight, secure, balanced. She doesn't even notice that it's there. But on a smaller dog, you're looking at potential discomfort, an awkward fit, or it could potentially interfere in how your dog moves, or even worse, just, come off entirely, which at that point, what's the point of having the collar at all? Now, I know some people bring up temperament when it comes to these kinds of things, and here's where I gotta be honest. Poppy's a pretty well-behaved dog. She took to the training fast and hasn't really pushed this whole system too hard. So I can't give any insights from my own experience as to how this thing would do to, escape artists or especially anxious dogs. But I will say, if your dog is used to, wearing pieces of gear like a harness or a collar, and they're like medium to large sized, SpotOn is going to be a good fit. But if they're a smaller dog, or maybe they're a little bit more anxious when it comes to, pieces of gear or kit around their neck, it might not be the right fit, at least not right now. So here's where things get interesting. How do you live? Do you travel with your dog often? Because that is where SpotOn really starts to shine. Obviously, you can't take a physical fence with you everywhere that you go. However, you can absolutely create temporary fences with the SpotOn. I've used this in a few different places now, including my house, my parents' house, and at a rental cabin. All 3 times, I had a barrier set up and ready to go within 10 minutes. And you can't barely do that with anything. Could you imagine trying to build a fence that quickly? Or literally just putting up your own tent that quickly. Now, are you the type of person who struggles to remember to charge things? Because unfortunately, I've got news for you. The SpotOn collar, depending on usage, needs to be charged every 1 to 2 days. So if you're the type of person who has a chronically low phone battery, you may find that part of this whole thing pretty frustrating. Now, do you rent where you live currently? Because if you do, you're probably not allowed to put in any sort of physical fencing anyway. The SpotOn doesn't require any physical installation. It doesn't damage any property, and you get to bring it with you when you move. Okay, let's talk about the uncomfortable part, money, because there is no way to sugarcoat this. The SpotOn costs $1,000. But here's how I've gone about thinking about it. What would you spend to solve this kind of problem permanently? Because if we're talking about a physical fence, those can easily work their way into 5 figures, especially, depending on the size of your yard. And you can run into issues like, surprises during the installation of, buried utilities, or you have an issue with your easement. Oh, actually, no, this is your property line, so we have to install it here instead and move it, and we're going to charge you to do that. If you're looking for an invisible fence solution, that can still run you anywhere from $2,500 to $3,000. Plus, you got to worry about the maintenance of the buried wires should any of them fray or break over time. For SpotOn, it's $1,000. But you spend $1,000, you set it up, and it works. No surprises. But here's the real question. What is your peace of mind worth? Because that's what you're buying here. The peace of mind of letting your dog out without having to worry about where they are or where they're going. Let me break down what the SpotOn collar actually does, because while the marketing makes it sound like magic, it's really just a well-designed piece of tech. Essentially, the collar uses a dual-feed GPS antenna to track your dog, and then you put in a boundary on a map in your phone. When your dog gets close to that boundary, they receive a series of escalating notifications or alerts. The first, when you get closer, there's an audio warning, and then there's a vibration, and then there's an optional static correction the closer they get to that boundary. It's impressively accurate for something this compact, and when you have it under regular use, the system just works. Does what it says, what it's supposed to do. It keeps your dog safely contained without the need for any sort of physical fence. And the app is a fairly, meat and potatoes as well. It's not trying to be fancy or cute. You can see where your dog is. You can set up a boundary, check battery life, adjust the levels of your correction alerts. That's pretty much it. So here's how I think about it. Buy the SpotOn fence if you have a medium to large property, a curious but not anxious dog, and either travel often or you don't want to install any sort of permanent fence. It's the ideal thing for people willing to invest in a reliable, portable solution to keep their dog contained that offers some real flexibility. Now, don't buy it if you have a smaller yard or you have a particularly anxious or fearful dog, or obviously don't buy it if you don't like the price. It's your money. Don't let anyone tell you what you should or shouldn't be doing with it. Also, depending on your situation, there are cheaper options out there. SpotOn is far from the cheapest option on the market. But real world verdict for me, after several months of testing, I think the SpotOn is a great solution for the right problem. And now, if you've decided it is for you, there are discount links in the description below. It'll get you the most up-to-date pricing and the best deals out there. So consider that if you think this is the right solution for you. And if you do end up going for it, if you don't, let us know in the comments. We love to know what people are thinking about these kinds of things. So if you get some experience with the SpotOn, share it in the comments. Or if you decided to go with a different solution, what did you pick? And ultimately, how did it go for you? We're all out here just trying to keep our dogs safe. So whatever's going to do that for you is the right choice for you.